more than anything, it's just the acknowledgement. The acknowledgement and the understanding that the family, that once the individual signs up to serve, that the whole family is signing up to serve as well. And I think as collectively, again, this is preaching to the converted here, but as long as everybody around the world understands that, that to me is the biggest thing that we can do. Because yes, then comes the experiences, then comes the opportunities of which, the Invictus Games Foundation isn't just about the games. It's about all the other days of the year that we have to, and we provide opportunities, adventure training, sporting activities, whatever it is, but experiences for the individual, but also for their families as well, so that they can do the things that they loved doing before, and actually proving that those things are still possible.
We're going to run out of time shortly, but I want to look ahead. So we're celebrating 10 years, and I'm going to ask you, Ken, first, just because you're furthest away. Looking to the next 10 years, what would you like most, what would you like to see happen?
Well, first, I'd like to not build another Fisher House, because it's not necessary. That's not realistic, because as long as there's people wearing the uniform, men and women wearing the uniform, there's always going to be a need. But I think as far as we're concerned, we would like to see the family and friends remain in the front and center, if you will. That the value that they bring to the healing process is not only told, but people need to understand exactly what that means. People hear the words, but too many people don't understand because they don't see it for themselves. I wish everybody can come to an Invictus Games and see the power of adaptive sporting, and to see the power that the family and friends have and what they bring to the table. You know, the United States is the only nation, to my knowledge, that has a VA, a Veterans Administration. So it becomes even more critical, for other countries with wounded veterans to not only be able to take care of those men and women, but also take care of their families and acknowledge what their families have done, because, as the Duke said before, the entire family serves.
Thank you very much. Sir Keith Mills, your thoughts?
Well, actually, we were talking just before we came in here about the team and what the next 10 years looks like. And actually, all the people in this room can contribute to shaping the next 10 years. But for sure, the problem that Prince Harry identified 10 years ago still exists. And conflict, sadly, around the world continues to grow. And who will know what's going to happen in Europe or elsewhere in the world over the next 10 years. But for sure, the way that we look after veterans, those that have served, and their families is going to be increasingly important. And I think the Invictus Games Foundation has an incredibly important part to play in providing the support that frankly, in some countries, it's not even on the radar. If you go to many countries around the world, looking after those that have served their country just doesn't feature. If you get injured, then you're on your own. And that's something I think globally we'd like to change.
Mm-hmm. Prince Harry.
Look, I've said this over and over again over the years, every single time I've been asked a similar question, which is, how long does Invictus go on for? And the answer to that is, for as long as it's serving a purpose. I would love to, more than anything, and there'll be people in this room go, oh, what is he saying? But I would love more than anything to be able to put this in a box and put it on a shelf and let that box be covered in dust because we don't need it anymore. But as we all in this room understand, probably more so than most, that's just simply not the case. And I'm a big fan of trying to solve the root cause of a problem. That root cause of the problem is conflict, and I can't fix that. So we will always be here to be able to spread the message, tell the stories, change the perspectives, and help as many people as humanly possible. Because Invictus transcends borders, it transcends politics. It is what it is. There's this magic within this community that exists. So the next 10 years, I think there's going to be more people coming through. There's going to be more countries that are going to join, and then the other countries' numbers will probably reduce. Back in 2014, the Team UK and Team USA was up in the 130s. It's now sort of half that number. And we cap our competitors at 550 strong. If there are people in this room who want to really come in with a big number of funding, then we can probably increase that. But then that means that the games go beyond a week, and then everything else starts becoming much longer and bigger. But just building off, again, what Sir Keith just said, Nigeria is a classic example. A country that joined, the first African nation that joined us last year, had no form of sport rehabilitation really whatsoever until they saw Invictus and started building their own program. They've been in conflict for 15 years. But no one knows that. No one talks about that. They got thousands of wounded. And now, and then also we're talking about Ukraine, and they've got hundreds of thousands of wounded. And the stigma on wounded in both those two countries is off the charts. And that, to me, it's not just the conflict and the injuries, it's the recovery journey and what they're up against. They're up against it from a physical perspective, they're up against it from a mental perspective, but they're also up against it from a societal perspective. So whatever we can do within the foundation, building on what we've already created, but also relying on the very individuals that have healed themselves throughout this process. I just caught eye with JJ. JJ, in 2014, JJ was questioning whether he would come to the Invictus Games or not because he thought it might be an egg and spoon race. It wasn't, and I'm really glad that you joined us. And you won medals, which was great as well. But again, perception, perspective, we all in this room have a continued service to play. And I think that is what we're doing.
Nice to see you, JJ, by the way. We've worked together as well. And we're going to speak to Dean from Nigeria a little bit later. Is there anything you want to say something? Come on.
Just real quick, in the United States, a couple of years ago, it was estimated that almost 20 to 22 servicemen and women were committing suicide every day. There was a stigma around psychological health that we have gone a long way towards eliminating. But forums like the Invictus Games, where people can see what is possible if they take that first step forward, becomes so critical, not only for their health, but for their families' mental and psychological health as well. So that's not to be underestimated. So that's why the Invictus Games needs to continue. It's why what we do in this room needs to continue, because one service person who commits suicide is one service person too many.
Yeah. Thank you. We're going to come to the end, but I did ask for your highlight. Can you give us a little bit of your favorite sort of magic? You mentioned the magic, a magic moment that makes you smile.
It probably hasn't changed. Still, it has to be the beginning. 2014.
Yeah. In
the Copper Box. I was at the DJ decks, trying to choose some of the music and put the lights on and just get people on their feet. And is Guy in the house? Guy Monson, are you here? No? Well, we're having dinner at his place later, so he'll definitely be there. But Guy basically never left his seat at the Copper Box. He was there the whole time, up and down, doing Mexican waves. The whole thing was absolutely incredible. But it was that final game of USA versus UK, and it was just end to end. I think it was wheelchair rugby and wheelchair basketball. And that, to me, was the highlight, because you had 6,000 people who had filled this stadium and were on their feet, every age from 95 to 5, and people were just literally blown away by what they were watching. We had no idea what was going to happen.
I seem to remember you were sent to the sin bin, weren't you?
That was a separate game, but yes. Thank you. That was your highlight then.
Clearly.
But look, for us, I think all of us, including Keith, despite that call of bringing him out of retirement, I think we've just had a huge amount of fun. And I think I personally have learned so much from all the people that I've met, as the children, the family, the friends, and the individuals themselves. And the amount of respect and admiration that I have for all of them just continues to build just year after year after year. And now we have these Invictus 1 year to go events as well, because to be honest with you, we can't wait 2 years. So it's just like whoever's going to host the next games, we're all going to be there 1 year ahead, and then at the games themselves. So yeah, the highlight for me is being in this community with all these people. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to have to end it there. Thank you very much, my brilliant panel, the Duke of Sussex, Sir Keith Mills, Ken Fisher. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you. Thank you, well done. Thank